Well, hi there. I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. I really am the first, believe it or not. Not that there's a lot of competition. But anyway, my guest is a brand new MNN artist who is actually an MNN artist from 20 years ago. Well, he's back. We're going to talk to him about his wonderful new show and about his fascinating life. His name is, now he is of Greek descent, and this is his legal name. His name is Hercules Invictus. And here he is, Hercules Invictus.
Thank you for the welcome back. I greatly appreciate it. It's been over 2 decades since I last adventured on MNN, but I'm glad to be coming back.
And everyone here is so glad to have you back. So tell us, now what is your show called?
The show for MNN is going to be called Hercules and the Space Gods. And
And what is it about?
it's basically a soft reboot of shows I've been doing for like over half a decade now, that focus on UFOs, the entities that are associated with UFOs, and also with occultism, because a lot of the outer space spiritualities are based on more astral and otherworldly type of schemas for the universe than just the ones that our scientists tell us about. So it's going to look into both aspects of this world, and it's going to focus on people who have experiences and who are bringing messages to the world. So I would talk
Yeah.
to people giving the messages.
Now you've been doing podcasts. You've been producing many different podcasts for Blog Talk Radio for a while now, haven't you?
Yes, I have on my channel over 1,000, and on the channel I was before, I have a couple of thousand too, I believe.
And you deal with many of the same subjects on your many and varied podcasts as you will on your new television show.
Correct. I deal with that. I deal with mythic monsters or cryptids. I deal with local elections. I deal with human service issues.
What are cryptids, or whatever you say?
Cryptids are the mythical animals of today. It's like Bigfoot and Chupacabra.
Oh,
These types
Nessie and politicians, all those animals, yes.
that
So,
people encounter today.
yes. And well, how did you become you? How did you, no, you grew up in the New York area.
Correct. I was born in Manhattan. I grew up initially in the Bronx, then in Washington Heights, then in New Jersey, and then I went back to New York for a couple of decades. Then I moved to Pennsylvania, and then I stayed in Pennsylvania for about a decade, and then came back to New Jersey, and I've been here about a decade now.
Well, now, my point is, most people born here are not as interesting and original as you are.
Thank
How
you.
did you get to be you?
I was born me, and basically I tried very many different ways of being and found them not to my liking because they weren't me. So as I move through life, I experiment with new things and I drop the things that don't resonate very powerfully. I believe life is very short. And if I'm going to live life, I might as well live it on my own terms as much as I possibly can.
And you do believe in reincarnation.
Yes, I do believe in reincarnation. I guess you could call me an occultist. I've studied many metaphysical systems, and I physically exercise with weights and with isometrics and isotonics and things like that. I also experiment with my mind, with astral projection, with meditation, with all sorts of ways of exploring the inner world as well as the outer world.
No, when you were a teenager, you were quite a psychic, weren't you?
Well, I never really thought of myself as a psychic, but I was a deep trance medium for a group in New York City during the mid to late 80s, or no, I'm sorry, the mid to late 70s or then early.
Well, no, what's a deep trance medium?
Well, I relaxed my body, and then I would wait for my control, they used to call them back then, which is a spirit that protects you. And then they would let certain spirits come near and take possession of my vocal cords. And I could hang out if I wanted to, or I could go out voyaging or exploring, which is what I chose to do most of the time.
Weren't
And
you afraid that you might not be able to get back in to your body?
initially, but then I saw that I was, that my control and I were pretty much in control and could say no to anything that wanted to get in, that either the controller that I didn't want to get in. And they were pretty reliable, my guides. And um, again, I trusted them, so I trusted the process.
Now, let's say that I come to you. Now, I know you no longer do deep
No,
trance mediumship, but let's say then I came to you and I said, well, I want to talk to my dead mother. Would she then take possession of your body and, talk through you?
I didn't exclusively do people who had passed on. In fact, most of what I was doing back then is now called channeling, where you talk to ascended masters
Oh,
and
I see.
like that.
Yeah.
So most of my deep trance sessions were, basically like therapy.
Mhm.
People would come and, they would discuss their issues, and then they would be given like insights. Sometimes they'd be told something that would happen, and invariably it would happen at some point in time. And that would scare people sometimes, if they were told something and then it came to pass within a couple of weeks.
Sort
Um,
of like an Akashic record reading.
yes, and they were like they happened like the old mediumistic circles of yesteryear. They would happen in people's parlors or living rooms, and they would set out a glass of water for me. And then when the spiritual energy built, the water glass would be full of bubbles, and I would go in for a little while. And again, I could choose to stay or to leave, and they would get a sitting. And I did that, and it was satisfying on some level. And I knew that I wasn't making it up, but it was alarming on other levels. So that's what led to my stopping doing it.
Did
Um,
your parents know you were doing this?
yes, they weren't happy with it, but they knew I was doing it.
And you went into the medical field for a long time.
Yes, into the psychological field, psychiatric rehabilitation, and the workforce development. And I used to develop internship volunteer programs. And I used to create pre-vocational programs that help people deal with the different stressors that prevented them from working.
Oh, isn't that everyone though, really?
To some extent, yes. And that's where I learned on my journey that we're all, the ancient Greeks, the word therapy was meant tending an altar. And the journey of healing happened between the therapist and the person looking for therapy. So everyone was healing. And I found that to be true also.
Now, your family's from an island in Greece called,
Limnos or Lemnos in English.
and that has a strong place in Greek history, hasn't it?
In mythology, yes, it was the island where Jason and the Argonauts landed. That was the Amazon women, and they stuck around there for like 2 years before resuming their journey. It was said to have healing dirt. So Orion the giant, when he was blinded, came there to eat some dirt and get healed, which he did. Hephaestus, when he was flung from Olympus, landed near there, and he set up his forge on a dead volcano on Limnos, and created all the wonderful armaments and jewelry of the gods there. And Prometheus came and stole the fire that he gave to humanity from Hephaestus's forge on Limnos. So we're an island of stories that are still remembered. And in history, somebody wrote about the life of Apollonius of Tyana, who was like the pagan equivalent of Jesus around the early centuries. And also he wrote a tour book for Troy, because Troy was like the Gettysburg of its day. So it wasn't lost, as Schliemann maintained. They wrote tour books, during the Roman Empire, and they used to go there on vacation and meet dead heroes and, bring back souvenirs and things like that. So that's where I come from. And that molded me to a great extent.
What made your parents come here to the US?
Opportunities, and there was a lot of unrest around the time that they were coming here. there was something called the Diogmi, when the Ottoman Empire was telling Greeks they had to leave the country. So these are Greeks that had been there since antiquity. Uh,
Mhm.
but now that it was the Ottoman Empire in Turkey, they had to leave. So a lot of Greeks, like my grandfather, elected to come here, and he married my grandmother, who elected to come here because of the general unrest in Greece and for opportunities. And that's why Greeks used to come here. They used to come here, work here, get a pension here, then go back and retire to Greece, which was an inexpensive place to live.
And they were in effect millionaires, sort of.
Yeah, they were considered very rich. That's no longer true now. But back when I was growing up, that was true, and that was everybody's plan to work hard here, to make a great life, and get an education for the children, then to retire in Greece where they could just like live the big life.
And when you were a child, you would often summer in Greece, wouldn't you?
Yes, we used to go to Greece very often. And in addition to Limnos, we went to like Athens and the surrounding areas. And then as I became like 17, 18, I started going by myself. And I went to Crete, and I went to Delphi, and I went to the Temple of Poseidon, and I went to all these places I'd learned about in the myths.
Are you completely Greek?
Yes, I'm completely Greek as far as I know. And that's a fuzzy thing, though, because the Greeks were in Asia Minor, or what's now Turkey, for forever, and until the Ottoman Empire kicked them out. And what is now Sicily and Italy used to be called Magna Graecia, or the Greater Greece, because it was bigger than Greece, and yet it was under Greek control. The Lemnians are of the same genetics as the people in Etruria, or the Tuscany,
Oh my goodness.
also in Troy, so they were related to the Trojans as well.
So what I meant when I asked if you were completely Greek, both your mother and your father are Greek.
Yes.
That must be fast. How wonderful to have that kind of background, to be so proud that, I mean, you're the cradle of civilization, you know?
Well,
I
it's an
mean,
interesting
pretty
perspective.
good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's great. I'm grateful for it, although I rebelled against it as a teen, as all teens rebel. But it does. It gives you a feeling that you're part of something that has been moving through uh, myths and legends, and then history, and now it's going forward, and it's going towards some unknown place that's before you. So you feel very much part of a process that's been going on forever. And the roots are the mythical times and the legendary times, and the Greeks have kept a record of themselves, as many ancient people have done, so that as they continue toward the future, they're part of something that unfolds, something greater than themselves. So it's a very comforting thing sometimes, a very disturbing thing sometimes.
You are very fond of bodybuilding and
Yes.
physical culture and health culture.
Yes, I was inspired by the movies that are called Sword and Sandal now, or Peplum. They were called Hercules movies as well. They were like a supplement to the tales that I grew up with. So I identified very much with the heroes that were portrayed in the bodybuilding films. So I wanted to be like them. I wanted to fight tyrants, and I wanted to fight monsters, and I didn't want to hurt anybody or anything. So I made it metaphorical. So I started tackling tyrannies in my immediate world, and
Mhm.
monstrous conditions,
Like
and
the assistant principal, that kind of thing, right?
all sorts of things. And so I found a way of living it out. And the mythological movies helped me a lot, because they showed me that this wasn't just mythical or in statues, that people could embody these qualities, and people could bring this spirit to the world. So whereas most kids wanted to be firemen or policemen, or whatever they wanted to be, I wanted to be one of these Hercules is like in the movies.
Mhm.
That gave me a direction in life, and I've been working out with weights on and off for most of my life, and I'm happiest when I'm working out with the weights and doing exercises, and I'm healthier, of course.
And also seeing those Hercules movies, in effect, brought your history to life, and you could see it happening
Yes.
as though you were back in time and seeing it.
Yes.
So, what are your plans for the future, aside from the television show?
Aside from the television show, back when we were in Pennsylvania and before then, when I was in New York, I used to actively investigate things. And you'd be surprised at how many things there still are to investigate. And some of them are puzzling and point to a greater mystery, and some of them are easily solved, although people are not willing to let go of the stories that they built around it. So that's okay. People are entitled to believe whatever they want.
You mean things like ghost hunting, that kind of thing?
Yes, yes. I remember one ghost hunt that it sounded, like a poltergeist phenomenon, and people were hearing demon growls, and there were ghosts that moved through the house, and there was cold spots and hot spots, and it was a whole litany of things that were taken from like horror movies. So there have been things like that that I've investigated in the past, but this one, for example, we brought somebody who understood heating systems and cooling systems. And we brought with us, I acted like the medium, because I'm attuned to things going on, they're invisible. And everybody had like a different specialty. So then we usually go and then compare notes. And we found that where they were where they were experiencing cold spots and hot spots are where the heating and the cooling things were. So that was easily explained.
That's disappointing, isn't it?
It is this point. And then the demon growls. They said, look, the demon's growling. So I sent somebody out to see what was going on outside. And a block and a half away, somebody was mowing their lawn with a lawnmower. So that was the demon growling. And some of the other things too that they were talking about were easily explained. So we met and we told them this is what we found, and they got angry with us because they were expecting us to reinforce the story. That one we couldn't.
Yeah, you killed their fantasy. They were happy that way,
I couldn't confirm or feed their fantasy, so we just left them to their story, and they continued to tell it, and it became a thing for a while, and then it, like all things, vanished from awareness and became part of the local folklore.
You're also in politics, aren't you?
Yes, I'm on the county Democratic committee. I'm an elected official there, as are you. And I am involved on several committees. I'm involved in the Stigma-Free Committee, which is mental health, in the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, which is physical health, and also with the Access for All Committee, which is people with disabilities. And we're trying to raise awareness of these things to make the services that we offer a bit more accessible, and to continue to develop resources so that people have a place to go if they're experiencing something.
And that is in your particular New Jersey town.
Yes, in my borough in Tenafly.
Mhm. And which is where you're sitting now. We're doing this via Zoom.
I'm in my bedroom in Tenafly doing this show. Yeah.
Sounds like a 1930s song. I'm in my bedroom in Tenafly, thinking of you, whatever.
There you go.
But so do you find it difficult being you, in the sense that you're not just an ordinary blue jean and t-shirt kind of guy with a skinny little body? You are a bodybuilder. You have a very personal look, not, short sides and back, and and given the fact that you live in a New Jersey town, having lived in many myself, you must be one of the local celebrities, I would imagine.
I'm known. I'm surprised sometimes that my being known, people recognize me generally. They have an opinion of me, which seems to be very positive.
Oh, do they say, oh, there's that hippie guy, that kind of thing?
No, nobody says hippie guy, but they know I'm Hercules. And there was a funny time once, some guy stopped me in a supermarket, and he said, hello, Hercules, and I said hello. And he said he wanted to share a story with me. So I told him, sure. And he said he was in the pizzeria and he saw me walking, and he didn't know who I was, but I looked like one of these sword and sandal people. So he goes,
Right.
look, there's Hercules. And they told him in the pizza, oh yeah, Hercules walks by around this this time of day. And he said, "You're kidding." And they said, "No, no, that's Hercules." So he said he wanted to know that this happened. So I thanked him very much for the story. Um, but I don't know. I really don't see myself as a celebrity or anything. I'm just me. And I've worked during my career in the human services with people who are not getting out of the beds that they find themselves in because of disease or age. And are full of regrets if they didn't do the simple things in life, that they didn't tell somebody how they felt. They didn't try something that they had the opportunity to try. They didn't go somewhere that they had the opportunity to go because they're afraid of other people. So I try to live my life with as few regrets. And I could only be happy being me. And as I get in my 60s, I don't have to impress anybody or, or even think about impressing anybody. So I just be as me as I can be. And I try to enjoy my life as much as I can and to appreciate it every single second, because I learned working in hospitals that it can end in a second. You're on the wrong street, you're in the wrong store, whatever, and that's it. So I try
To get to the studio, I I took the Q train from where I live, and I passed the subway station on 63rd and Lex, where that poor woman's head was pushed into a train.
Oh,
She is now brain damaged and apparently paralyzed from the neck down. And she was just a woman going to work on a Sunday morning, 6 a.m. And this person came, a man, and unprovoked, pushed her head into the train and destroyed her life.
that is horrible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
So,
anything we can
you,
do to minimize that type of thing happening, I think we have a responsibility to do it. And that's why I get involved with local initiatives. I might not be able to solve the problems of the age, but what little I could do to spread resources on mental health and things like that, at least to minimize the chances of things like that happening.
when you were a child and you were growing up, did you know how truly vile the world could be?
Yes, because I'm a student of mythology and history. So
Oh, of course, so you would
the
know. Yeah.
world can be a phenomenally vile place. And um, I for a while when I was very young, I bought into the, being outraged about things and, complaining about them. And then I figured that didn't really do any good other than keeping you outraged and in like a negative space.
Mhm.
So again, although I don't know what difference I've made in the world, I tried to do things that would make life a little bit better for the people around me. And as I move through life, I'm more effective in making my life and the people in my life, know that they're loved and know that they're appreciated. And, so again, it's not much, but it's what I can do. And I think if everybody does what they can do, we'd improve the quality of our life.
Well, you have a very accomplished, lovely wife, Athena, and
Yes.
2 sons, don't you?
Yes, I have several sons. One, my natural son, he's in his 30s. And then I have two that are adopted. One is in his 20s and the other is, I believe, 40 now.
My goodness, how wonderful. How kind of you to adopt children. That's lovely. I mean,
Well, they were my wife's children from an earlier marriage.
oh,
So
well, in that case,
family, you know.
So, is there anything you'd like to tell people? Now we have only a few minutes left about how to live a truly alive life and how to be themselves. You look nothing like Dolly Parton, but both you and she have the same message. I insist upon being myself.
There's no other way to be, and it's very easy to get lost. And in middle age, usually those type of questions start plaguing you. What if I taken this path instead of another path? What if I had done this instead of doing that? And most people disrupt the lives that they built so far because those lives seem inauthentic. So
You
ask
mean like a midlife crisis, that
a
kind of.
midlife crisis, yes. And Usually the thing that you want to do the most is the thing you fight the most. So ask
True
yourself,
as that.
permission to.
Yes, I was, I had a mad crush on a man for many years, and he always turned me down. And then when he turned 64, I met him when he was 31. Oh, now suddenly, let's have an affair. Well, no, dear. I mean, you used to look like Robert Redford. Even Robert Redford doesn't look like Robert Redford now. So, no, 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 no. No. But I mean, this is like after a lifetime of saying, no, 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 no. Okay, fine, no. Got the message now. So anyway, but well, I guess we're out of time. When does your show air?
My new show, I don't know yet. I filmed the first 3 episodes. I want to do a little bit of editing before I send them to M&N. One of them I designated as a pilot, and the other 2 are the following 2 episodes. I'm going to be filming them until I get 12. So as soon as I know when it's airing, I will let you know.
Great. And is it a weekly show or what?
It will be a weekly show. And then before I start the second season, I'm going to do from my archives some of the best shows that would contribute toward the message of the show. So there'll be like an archive period while I'm filming season 2, and then there'll be a season 2. So the archives will take up a week each, so there won't be any gaps between the seasons.
Wonderful. My guest has been MNN artist Hercules Invictus, who is many more things than just an MNN personality. I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. Hey, even if no one else loves you, I love you. You love them too, don't you, Hercules?
I love everybody, and you're awesome, Diana. You
So
did-
are you, Hercules.
Thank you.
And by the way, I do a podcast under Hercules auspices on Blog Talk Radio, 3rd Saturday of every month, 9 to 10 Eastern time.
And you always
Hey, I
surprise.
love, I'm sorry?
You always surprise me with great shows.
Thank you. And anyway, I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Love you. Bye. Okay.